Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today is the first of many of the fall DIY series that is going to be coming to you guys. This is a Dollar Tree DIY, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make this fall 3D pumpkin. Everything is from Dollar Tree. And I explained in the video if there's anything used that I did not purchase from Dollar Tree and what alternatives that you can use. So without further ado, let's go ahead and make this wonderful fall craft. Okay, so first you want to start off with one Dollar Tree foam pumpkin. They come orange like this, and then one stretched canvas from Dollar Tree. They are about I believe it's an 8x10 size. So I'm just removing the top of the pumpkin here. It's just inserted with like a little pick, and you can throw it away or put it to the side. We won't really need it. Then I'm taking the canvas and I'm going to use my X-Acto knife and try to cut off as cleanly as possible the actual stretched canvas part. What we're doing is we're removing that canvas because we're really going to need to expose that wood underneath, and you guys will see what I'm going to do here with it. I did have a little bit of trouble trying to pull that canvas off, so maybe get a better X-Acto knife than what I had. However, you just want to get that canvas off, and then the front part you want to try to get off as cleanly as possible without any rips, but the back part doesn't really matter so much. Okay, so once you get that canvas off, you are going to set it to the side. We're just going to be using that wood frame underneath. So I just have a piece of like extra cardboard laying around where I'm going to put the colors. Initially I was going to stain it with that mini wax wood finish you see in the back. However, it was a little bit strong, so I decided to just paint over the wood frame with some brown paint. Just any brown paint will do. You can get it at the Dollar Tree or for 98 cents at Walmart. So you're just going to go around all of the edges. I did go ahead and paint the inside of the edges as well. And then you want to try and sand the sides of the wood to give it a more distressed look. That's what I wanted anyways, or you could just do like a full-on solid color if that's what you like the look of. So I'm just going around each edge internally and around all sides of the wood frame. The back is not quite as important to paint over. If you guys don't want to worry about that, you're not really going to see it after it's being displayed. And then if you do want the sanded look like what you'll see I'm going to do in this video, then definitely get a sanding block. I had already been up and down the stairs so many times, so I did not get a sanding block. I just got a piece of the extra canvas paper and kind of scratched it along, and I used the X-Acto knife to kind of scratch along the wood and the paint just to chip it off a little bit and give it that distressed look. But you could definitely make this look a bit better and more distressed with a sanding block versus what I'm doing here. after you get everything stained or painted around the wood, you want to take that canvas piece, and I just put it back over the wood to kind of see what I would need to cut off as far as the excess goes, because I'm just going to hot glue it to one side. So I went ahead and did that, and then I took my X-Acto knife and I kind of just followed the lines, the natural lines of the canvas that were made initially whenever the canvas was put together. So I'm cutting that more down to size, that way it looks a bit nicer, and then I don't have to deal with all of that excess bit of canvas. So just take your X-Acto knife, or you could use scissors as well, I'm sure, just to get it to this nicer looking like canvas piece. Then you're going to put it back on the back of that canvas. I am gluing it to the side that I did not paint on the back, since you're not going to see it anyways. And now we're taking that foam pumpkin and we're going to take our X-Acto knife and literally just cut the pumpkin in half. Definitely try to get as clean of a cut down the middle as possible. We're only going to be using one half of that pumpkin, and it is styrofoam, so it will be a little bit messy, but it is pretty easy to cut. I had no problem cutting it with an X-Acto knife. I was just trying to figure out what side would look best on the canvas. So as you see here, I'm taking one half of that pumpkin and kind of laying it up against the canvas to see what I like best. And this is the idea here. We're going to end up hot gluing it into the center of that canvas piece. So right now you want to go ahead and, I mean, you could definitely use that orange color if you wanted to and leave the pumpkin as is. I am going to take these three colors that I did get from Walmart for 98 cents each, and I'm going to make kind of like a pale bluish green type color that'll fit with my fall decor. So as you see, I'm kind of just mixing those colors together, and you can use whatever you want. You can stick with the traditional fall colors, or you can do something similar if you like the color that I did. I just mixed a green, a light sky blue, and then a darker royal blue together, and then I end up putting some white paint in it as well, just to lighten it up, to kind of give it more of a pastel like color. So then you're just going to paint that color that you chose all over the pumpkin until it is fully coated and you do not see any orange underneath. Please do note that this takes a couple of coats because the styrofoam is pretty porous. So after it dries, that first layer, you are going to want it to completely dry so you can put another layer or two on it. I ended up doing like full 3 layers, I believe, and then you'll see when I'm hot gluing that little touch-ups need to be made as well, as some of the paint comes off and I have to remix the colors because I did not have enough to begin with. So that is all part of the process. However, the end result is totally worth it on how it comes out and how it looks. So just go ahead and paint that a few times, let it fully dry in between coats, and then just note that you might have to do some touch-ups later on. So just make sure you have enough paint to go ahead and do that. So then I'm taking some Dollar Tree lace ribbon and I made this bow, and I watched a YouTube tutorial on how to do it. I was going to show you guys in this video, but it's honestly pretty difficult. So I tried it a couple of times with some thicker ribbon from the Dollar Tree as well. So that's why you see 3 different bows here, and I was kind of trying to decide what was going to look best or if I could layer them for this project, but I went ahead and I just decided to go ahead and do just the lace ribbon. So I put those to the side after I was done with that, and then I went ahead and put on a few more coats of that paint just so that everything looked all nice and more higher end for the end result of this project. Okay, so now we are going to set that aside to dry, and we are going to pull that canvas back out, heat up your hot glue gun, and we are going to work on getting that canvas back on the back of that wood frame. And I'm using hot glue because I'm a very impatient person, so this was the fastest way and easiest way for me to get the project done. And you can use like wood glue or something like that, but I just personally find that hot glue works best for me. I do have a harder time using other glues, as you'll see later in this video whenever I run out of hot glue, and I'm trying to figure out how to get that canvas piece on, or the pumpkin on the canvas piece. So just go ahead and use whatever glue that you want, and you're going to make sure that the canvas is lined up perfectly with that wood frame. And I'm just taking a little scraper tool here, which you can also find at the Dollar Tree, to smooth out that glue on the edges just to make sure it all looks nice. And then I'm going back in with my hot glue gun just to get a couple little edges that needed some extra glue. So when you turn it around, it should resemble kind of a shadow box in a way, and I'm just doing a slight push test on it to make sure that the canvas doesn't push out and that there's no holes or anything, and I'm just going back over it and smoothing the edges down again. So what you're going to do is, after it looks like this, all nice and put together, you're going to prepare to glue that pumpkin piece that we made onto the middle of that canvas. So before I do that, I obviously missed some edges here, so I'm just going in and painting those. That way they look nicer whenever we go to actually put it up on your counter or wherever you're going to put it as a centerpiece. So I just want it to look all nice and cohesive. So then you want to take that pumpkin, and we're going to try and find a good center on that canvas piece. I decided to put it just a little bit lower, that way I could add some little decor to the top. So then I'm just going to take my hot glue gun and glue all around the edges of that styrofoam, the flat side, and try to put that in the center of my canvas, well, the center bottom. And you see that I run out of hot glue, so I try to become innovative and use some other glue sticks or type of glue, because I did not have the proper glue sticks for this glue gun. So I ended up actually ordering a different hot glue gun, because you will see that the other glues do not work for me and I can't get it to stick. So in order to get a good hold, I did have to order a different glue gun that I had the size of glue sticks for. I know I'm making everything more complicated for myself here. So So then I'm just going through and doing a couple more touch-ups with paint, and then I pull out these little sticks that I actually just got from my backyard, a tree that I had in my backyard. So that was free, and I know the Dollar Tree does sell like a bag of those like little wood pieces or wood toppers. However, I could not find that at either of the two local stores, so I just kind of took some tips from some other DIYers, and I cut off a piece of like just dead stick, so that actually worked for me pretty well. So that's what I'm going to use to glue as the top of the pumpkin. And again, I'm just going through after the pumpkin's been glued on and just kind of touching up any of the paint marks that got messed up when I was trying to make sure that it was glued down properly. So then I use my new glue gun and I glue that wood piece flat down onto the back of the canvas to look like a topper for the pumpkin. And you see here I'm doing like a little test on it and pushing slightly on the back of that stretched canvas piece just to see where I can put glue underneath the piece of wood, so that way it will stick to the canvas in all places and I won't have to worry about later it like coming off or anything like that. And then I'm going to take that bow that we made from earlier and I'm going to hot glue it flat down onto the very top of that pumpkin after I do some more touch-ups. And I was kind of deciding what bow I wanted to use, but that lace ended up looking perfect, so that is the one that I ended up going with, and this is what it looks like so far. So that turned out actually pretty easy to do that. And then I'm taking these Dollar Tree rub-on transfers. I actually picked these up last year, but I did notice when I went in the store this year they did have them again. So if you find these fall transfers, definitely pick them up because I've been able to use them for multiple projects, and I kind of took a risk here with trying to use these because that stretched canvas is more like a fabric material. So I didn't exactly know if it was going to work properly to actually get the transfer to stick, but it ended up working just fine. I just had to go over it a couple of times and make sure that I applied enough pressure before peeling off that translucent layer. And I just kind of decided at the last minute to add these little transfers just to add a nicer little touch so the background wasn't quite so plain. And it actually turned out to be a good addition to the project, and I really like it and how it turned out. So I'm just rubbing them on here, and then I use my little pokey tool, which I also got at the Dollar Tree, to kind of peel up that translucent layer. That way I could make sure that just the actual transfer went onto the canvas. So other than like a few little nicks here and there, it stayed pretty well, and I actually kind of liked how it looked more roughed up in the little spots that did come up, but it was nothing major. So I definitely recommend using these transfers and just kind of taking a risk on using them, especially with like a fabric like this. Now I don't know if it would work very well on a thicker fabric, of course, because the stretched canvas obviously has kind of a papery feel to it, so it still worked pretty well in this case. So this is what it looks like so far, and I think you could even just leave it just like this if you wanted to, but I'm going to go in with some Mod Podge just to seal that down and give it more of a glossy look, and also just make sure that the rub-on transfers will endure the test of time. Now you can totally skip this step if you don't like the way that the glossiness will look, especially with it being on a stretched canvas material, because when it shines in the light it will just reflect off of that transfer pretty much. So you definitely do not have to do this, but I just wanted to, just to make sure that it stays down pretty well. And then I'm going to take that same rub-on transfer sheet and I'm going to cut out this Hello Autumn, and I wanted to add that to the top again, just to make that space look a little bit nicer and less blank and plain. And I had enough room at the top, so I ended up cutting out the Hello Autumn, and then I cut the Hello separate from the Autumn. That way I could kind of arrange it around the top of the pumpkin stem in a way that it wouldn't interfere and it would kind of look more drawn out and nicer. So I'm just peeling off the back of those rub-on transfers, and I'm going to do the same process as I did with the leaves and just make sure that I'm rubbing those down very nice with a lot of pressure. And I did have to do this one a couple more times than the leaves. This one, since I guess it was smaller and it was words, it was having a hard time adhering at first, but I just added quite a bit of extra pressure and that seemed to help it get put down overall. And I'm just using that scrape tool again to push all of the bubbles out and make sure that there's enough pressure going to each of the letters. That way when I pull up on it with my pokey tool, it doesn't come up or we aren't missing any letters in the final project or product. And then once you get the translucent layer off, you're just going to go in and do the same thing with that Mod Podge and just make sure that it is sealed down as properly as it can be. So again, you could totally stop there if you wanted to. I just thought that the wood part of the canvas kind of still looked a little too plain for me. So I am taking a piece of this like foam floral that I got out of a box of other decor from Dollar General. So you could definitely skip this part if you don't like the way it looks or you don't want to go to Dollar General. Or you could just find something else from the Dollar Tree that you want to use, some type of floral or berry to kind of put as an accent. And I'm just hot gluing those in both of the bottom corners on that framed wood piece. That way it kind of like brings everything together, in my opinion. And I believe this is the last thing I finally decided to stop adding, just to bring the project all together and make it look nicer for the end product. So this is the final product, you guys. I ended up putting it on my kitchen counter next to some other fall decor. I truly hope that you enjoyed this project and that you had fun making it alongside with me. I thought it turned out super good. It looks super high end and it's such a nice piece just to be able to add next to some other fall decor. And it goes great with pretty much any fall color. As you can see, I have like a little orange candle holder next to it. So I thought that it turned out super well. I hope you guys enjoyed this project, and go ahead if you did and give it a thumbs up, and please consider subscribing if you did, if you'd like to see some more videos like this, because I will have some more coming up soon. Thank you guys. You have such a great day. Bye.